How's it going, Kittanning? We are back for another episode of the Kittanning podcast. Could not be more excited to have with me today our very first actual county commissioner and running for re-election, Pat Fabian. Good to have you back.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon.
Absolutely. We've had several of these interviews already. I've interviewed 3 candidates so far. And then Pat, obviously running for re-election, and I'm more excited to talk to you because you've actually kind of lived in this space for the last few years, and I think that you've done a pretty good job as a county commissioner, especially given the circumstances that you were dealt in the beginning. And so, for those of you that don't know Pat, can you just tell a little bit about yourself, your history in Armstrong County, all those kinds of things?
Sure. I guess I'm a born and bred kind of guy. I'm a lifelong resident to Armstrong County. I currently live in Manor Township with my wife of 15 years, Geo Anderson Fabian, and we have 2 children, Anderson, who's 11, and my daughter Alexa, who's 8. Both of them attend Lenape Elementary, and one thing, whether you're running a campaign, now a re-election campaign, or the job itself, it really dips into a lot of family time. So I do my best to balance that family time, and I'm so grateful. They are very understanding, and I'm very appreciative of their support and understanding of how important Armstrong County is to myself and the work that I do.
Absolutely, yeah. I run into that too, running a business, and you're essentially running a much bigger business than I am. So I can only imagine the pull from the family work-life balance. So yeah, I love that. So you have 2 kids, you said?
2 kids, Anderson and Alexa, both go to Lenape Elementary School. So
very good.
I've grown up in Fort City my entire life. My dad was from Yatesboro, my mother from the Apollo area. They met at the Cadet, but and I grew up living in my grandfather's home. He was a longtime sports editor here at the Leader Times. I think he was a 1972 Hall of Fame, Armstrong County Hall of Famer because of the work he did in sports editing for the Leader Times and writing. So I'm pretty proud of that, actually. But I graduated from Fort City High School in 1994. I could play a little bit of baseball, so I went to Gannon University in Erie and for undergrad and got a bachelor's degree in special education. I think it's always a cool story I always like to tell. Why'd you choose special education specifically? Yeah. Because back then it wasn't real popular. And at Fort City High School at that time, they had a lot of life skills, or they had 2 life skills classes, Jeannie Bartolovic and Fred Screechy. And myself and a gentleman named Craig Dykes, good friend of mine, volunteered to instruct, be peer support people for that classroom, and really grown attached to a lot of the students in that classroom, and it really inspired me, and that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
And into adulthood, so that's why I initially started out in that field.
How cool. How cool.
Yeah.
So I've been asking everyone, what makes them uniquely qualified to be county commissioner? I know obviously you've been county commissioner now for a few years, but what do you think you bring to the table that makes you a good candidate, and why should people give you another 4 years at it?
Without question, it's my experience. I think if you look at the field of candidates, and they're all good candidates, I applaud each and every one of them for getting out there and putting themselves out there. It's not an easy job.
No.
It takes a lot of time to run a campaign and get out there and meet the public, but without question, it's my experience. Back in 2015, when I ran for county commissioner for the first time, I was already an elected official. I was a Manor Township supervisor for 3 years, and really that's kind of what inspired me to run for county commissioner. Had a lot of success there working with my co-supervisors there, but we kept taxes down, we reduced cost. One thing I'm most proud of is we filled up the industrial park in Manor Township over that 10-year, working with the planning department, working with economic development. Also, we've seen 2 new schools come into Manor Township during my tenure there. One being obviously the Armstrong High School, and Lenape Adult Learning Center came into Manor Township. So we were very business friendly. We're working already with county entities to increase our tax base, see some new home developments. Also, kind of led the charge during that time to bring in alerta programs and KOZ programs into the township that hadn't been there before. And also, over those 3 years, we've seen police coverage increase each of those 3 years as a township supervisor. And as I reflect back in the position I left Manor in with my co-supervisors, now they have 2 full-time police officers, a part-time detective. So I was pretty proud of the job that I did there. And
Nice.
that's kind of what inspired me. Like, hey, getting it done here. Let's see if we can get it done on a county level.
Absolutely. I love that. So tell me, just for those that don't know, maybe you could just explain. I know you mentioned LRTA and KOZ, and those are 2 very important terms from your guys' perspective. Can you just explain a little bit about what those are and why that's important?
Yeah, LRTA is a tax abatement program. I believe currently we have 14 municipalities involved in that. And the municipality, the school district, and the county all have to agree on that. Now, there's different variations. North Buffalo, for example, does 20%. So first year they would pay 0% of that full tax. Then it goes 20, 40, 60, 80 to 100%.
Okay.
Most municipalities right now do it in increments of 10%. So
Right.
year 1 would be 0%, 10 through 100%.
And so that's if you're starting, is it building a new business and building a new home, both?
New construction.
New construction, okay.
And also, new construction. And that can be decks, additions, things like that, and new homes, of course. I just looked at the numbers last week before I knew I was coming on here today, and we have 242 properties. I know that program gets a lot of criticisms. It's not working well. It's not bringing tax revenue. But right now, currently, we have 242 properties in that program.
Yeah.
So I would say it's doing well. It can always do better. This met with planning and development and my co-commissioners today, and all of us. We need to market that program better. Where I call them hot spots, where you see LRTA doing very well in municipalities where they may have a full-time manager, secretary, or a zoning enforcement officer. It's those townships that are really rural that don't have that full-time staff to maybe promote or maybe just don't know about it.
Sure.
But we got to do a better job of that.
Okay. So,
then the KOZs.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Keystone Opportunity Zones. Basically, the same thing is for more of the commercial industrial. They get that for a 10-year tax abatement before they have to pay 100% of the taxes.
Right, and that's things like the old Kittanning High School's KOZ, right?
They're KOZ.
And
Most of North Point was at one point. Looked at those numbers too, which I just wanted to confirm what I knew. Every single parcel in there is paying 100% of their tax revenue, other than Involta, who was our recent in October of 2017. It's a database company,
right.
A $30 million database company. They're in year 2 of that.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So just a couple things to a little bit more about you and your time in the county. What do you love about Armstrong County? What are your favorite things about being here?
What's not to love here? We have 2 places. I'm fortunate enough that my father-in-law owns a camp in Gertie. You would think, it awed me the first time I went there. He told me he bought it. You would think you're in Potter County, Elk County. It sits right on Crooked Creek. So when we have free time, which is not that often, we're out there tubing, kayaking, fishing, sitting around the fire, shooting guns, just kind of relaxing, just trying to be a family. My son's very heavily involved in travel baseball, which I coach. I also coach his rec team, so to add on to more responsibilities.
Right.
But we enjoy that, and that keeps us busy on weekends. And then, we ride bikes, we fish, enjoy hunting, bow hunting in particularly. But 3 years ago, time to do a lot of those things is, I don't get to spend as much time in the woods because of work. Because my time's more directed to the kids when it's available. So.
Sure. Yeah. Sacrifice now, you'll get time in the woods later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's good to have Facebook because I get to keep up on what everybody else is doing.
Absolutely.
And kind of live
vicariously.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So. Any? I'm assuming that's favorite things to do, favorite places to go. That's got to be on your list. Is anything else that comes to mind?
No, we access the trail. We do a lot of kayaking here. We have some of the greatest waterways obviously, in some of the greatest waterways, I believe. I've kayaked just about every tributary here in the county. We don't have a boat. We know friends that have a boat. I think that's probably better than having a boat. But we do get invited to go out, and we enjoy that when we go out. So we use the trail system a lot. We do a lot of biking and stuff. But mainly in the summer, we're playing baseball. We're on a diamond. My son and I and my daughter and wife, unfortunately, are cheerleaders when we're on the field. So
very cool. So any favorite restaurants in the county?
All of them.
All of them? That's the most political question I ask here.
It is. And,
you don't want to make anyone mad.
Well, what I'm most proud of since we've come into office as administration, you've seen an upscale of new startups.
Absolutely.
New business, new eateries, whether you're talking about Carlessi's in West Kittanning, Woodfire Pizza, or Amano's here down in the waterfront, or one I haven't heard, I've watched all your videos, is Harper's in
I've been
in
waiting
Fort
for
City.
Yes. That's actually the last place I saw you, I think, is we were both at Harper's eating a burger.
And you were taking pictures of it. I'm like, you got to get after that.
Yeah.
But so I guess it's what you're an appetite for.
Yeah.
My family and my kids especially are big pizza eaters. There's not one pie we don't like. We try them all. We kind of circulate the wealth, so to speak. And I heard someone say in one of your previous videos about chicken wings. I love them. I couldn't argue with that person. They're all good, whether you're talking about Wick City, Night Courts, or Fort City Eagles. I don't believe I heard, but they have some of the best wings. But we have a lot of great choices here, all over the county. And if you're like me, or if you ever ran a candidacy or I guess a campaign, you eat everywhere. You're at every fish fry. You're at every breakfast venue, and they're all good.
You guys have to put like 20 pounds on during the campaign.
I'm not very happy right now, so I'm not very happy at all. So
all right. Well, let's dig into the real issues now. So as county commissioner, I think you have some unique insight into the issues that the county faces. What do you see as the three biggest problems right now in Armstrong County?
I think one of our greatest resources is the river, but it's our greatest Achilles heel. It's our greatest problem right now. And what I mean by that, we had a meeting last night. The ARDC, Congressman G.T. Thompson was in town. Economic development, planning development, some other local officials, and we talked about the river. And this is a federal issue. It's way above my pay grade. And I can honestly say Commissioner Renshaw, Commissioner Scumai, and myself have been champion river access, floodplain insurance, the flooding issues, the trends we're starting to see with the river. It's becoming problematic to market vacant properties along the river because of all these issues. And we've advocated that with our local, state, and federal officials. And we continue to do that. I will say, I left last night's meeting. It was the most informative meeting I've had. And I think we're going in a better direction, working with the Corps and the federal government. But ultimately, they created this, these locks and dams. They have a responsibility to these communities to upkeep them. And why I say it's the biggest problem, when you take out Elger left, or a PPG left, or an Agway left up Tartown, or Reimer barges start quick going up to Reimer. Then what we see? We lost good paying jobs, we lost commercial traffic, we lost commerce, and there was just a ripple effect. And it's just not on the borders of the Allegheny River. That's the guy that sells bait. We just lost another marina here, as I mentioned last night. What comes next is poverty. I mean, there's no ands, ifs, buts about it. And I made that case to the congressman last night and some of the reps from the federal government. This issue needs dealt with now. We need real solutions. There were some solutions that came out of that meeting in regards to floodplains, flood maps, and flooding in Reimer, East Brady, Washington Township. Some of these things are going to take a lot longer. But I'm committed to that because I think if we get that turned around, and it is not going to happen overnight, I think how these towns were created, that's going to bring us back to prosperity. And it's not here. You look at all the river towns across the United States. Right. This is an issue everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the river was such an important part of the success of Kittanning in the past, and I think it can be in the future, maybe not from an industrial side, but from a tourism side. But without the locks open, you just got a bunch of lakes, basically.
You're right, and they use a metrics that only come out. They don't count recreational traffic. It's tonnage. It's commerce coming up the river. And now they just went down to one shift in Lock 4, which hurts Freeport Terminals of Business, who was there last night. This is going to have a huge impact in this area. So what last night's meeting was to get together to really tell the federal government and our local legislators, like, this is an issue and it needs dealt with now.
Right.
And it's needed dealt with for a long time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that we have to keep up that fight.
Okay.
But to have an understanding, the federal government doesn't look the Upper Allegheny as a priority, especially when you're talking about, they have a money issue. Federal government's funding decreased by 30% for the Corps. Yeah. So most of their dollars are going to Louisiana, Seattle, Florida, the port out in Baltimore. So we're not within eyesight. But what we did ask them to do is, I know I'm talking at length about this, but I think it's such an important topic, is, hey, their regulations change from year to year.
Yeah.
So someone like Freeport Terminals that wants to make an investment, when they don't want to make that investment when you keep changing the rules all the time. So what we ask for is, hey, lay out the regs, but lay them out for a period of time so everybody knows what they're getting into.
Right.
And then, too, they have to change the matrix. So in Georgia, they're open 12 months out of the year, 16 hours a day. Well, our locks and dams are only open 3-4 months out of the year.
Right.
They're closed in the winter, obviously. Then if you get a couple bad, high water, sun doesn't come out, it shrinks our numbers. So you can't compare that.
Yeah.
So we asked them to take a look at a study to look at the economic impact of, closing these downs.
Right.
So,
okay.
But anyway.
So that's issue number one, the river.
Workforce, without question. I just met with economic development the other day. As a region, this isn't an Armstrong County issue. Sure. This is a region issue. You could say Cranberry's blowing up or Westmoreland's blowing. That's not the case. We're going to have a 80,000 worker shortage here over the next 5 to 6 years.
Oh wow!
It's a huge problem in Armstrong County. It's a huge problem in our region. So, getting a trained workforce here, we work on this a lot as a county. The Indiana, Butler County, and Armstrong County commissioners get together on a monthly basis to talk about workforce development. Okay. How do we attract that? And we try to partner off of one another as well. Building those connections with our local school districts. Obviously, Lenape does a great job of getting their kids out there in the workforce. So they're doing a good job. But where do we find that workforce? And I know in the county level, we have 240 plus employees right now.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to find candidates that we actually need to fill positions.
Sure.
But I will tell you this on a good note: there's jobs in Armstrong County.
Yeah.
Good paying jobs between $60,000 and $100,000. I talk to employers all the time. I'm always making sure I'm talking with our team down at IDC IDA. Employers have positions right now. I was just at a job fair at Apollo High School. 62 employers all needed jobs.
Oh wow.
All needed jobs, all had vacancies, and they were there talking to the freshmen, the sophomores, getting them prepared for that conversation, but also juniors and seniors that maybe could work now during the summer or as they're graduating, just go into the workforce.
Absolutely.
And then they opened it to the public from 5:30 to 7:30 too. So it was a good event. It was the second year in a row we've conducted that.
That's great to hear. 62 employers, you said.
62 employers.
Okay. So the jobs are out there, you guys.
They are. But that's another issue. How do we get people connected to the jobs is what we're always talking about. And I believe Marie Dillon Griffith from Career Links does a great job. I think our guidance counselors do a great job. So it's just, talked the other day, maybe we should put these job openings on our website. Get our employers so we can connect, the people that need the jobs with the employers.
Right.
So because I know people need jobs.
And I thought it'd be interesting too if you had a list from not only the job, but hey, here's the skill set that's required, and here's where you could acquire that skill set.
Absolutely.
To kind of connect all those dots, because I know there's a disconnect between those good paying blue collar jobs and we have a lot of skilled people, but maybe just need that one extra thing on their resume to get in the door. So.
So it's something we got to do a better job.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 2, River Workforce, and what's your third one?
Man, that's a toss up. There's so many that fall into that third category.
Sure.
Transportation's aggressive economic development plan. I would say there. People always say, hey, we haven't seen enough in Armstrong County, and I always compare us, because I'm a baseball fan, we're the Pittsburgh Pirates. we're a small market ball club here in Armstrong County with limited resources, and financially and staffing wise. We have to be dynamic. We have to use our resources to the and kind of partnerships to reach out to these people. But I can tell you, and honestly tell you, it's been done for the last 3 years. I'm pretty excited. There's some confidentiality agreements out there I can't speak to, but I think in Q3, Q4 of this year, you're going to see some things that are going to make a difference in Armstrong County, different making kind of projects.
Okay.
So
from a transportation, was that what you're saying?
No, not from a transportation. From an employee employment standpoint, educational standpoint. Maybe hotels, maybe eateries. So,
nice.
Again, I'm not a patient person. I want to see things happen right away, but that's not how government works, and I'm just being honest. But the work's being done, and hopefully I'm hoping for November, some of this stuff rolls out that we've been working on.
That's awesome.
It's pretty exciting. But, you still got to be aggressive. And I think one thing you always hear about out there is, maybe commissioners, we take a brunt of the blame, or not bringing in the jobs. I like to look at point out the number of jobs we saved that you don't hear about. There's a lot of legislation out there that Commissioner Renshaw, myself, and Commissioner Scummeyer are fighting that's going to directly impact this area. 2 months ago, they wanted to take away or brokerage medical assistance transportation. That's 35 jobs in this area. Local economy is impacted about $1.5 million. We've advocated strongly through our state association that can't happen.
Right.
Business expansion is something. Everybody wants to see new business, but we have, how many manufacturers do you think we have in Armstrong County?
Gosh, I have no idea. 50 to 100?
87.
87.
But I don't think a lot of people would realize we have 87 manufacturers throughout the county. What do you think the number
of huge
one?
Ones. But
they do, and a lot of that is business expansion.
Right.
Paul Burgow is probably the most recent business expansion that everybody's talking about, because it's on Route 85 and it's a huge project. But that stuff happens all the time around here, and there's 4 or 5 jobs here, or 10 or 15 here. So that stuff takes place. So we save a lot of jobs in this process. Business expansion is a big part of what we do, working with economic development. And obviously we're out there marketing the county as well. Yeah. And, I heard that mentioned before. That's another thing that, we're always constantly talking about is branding and marketing Armstrong County. Without question, that needs to happen. We need to do a better job of that. honestly, we got slowed down. We had a long-time director in planning and development retire.
Yeah.
We've had 2 directors that left tourism, with a short period of time, and a lot of that's being small market. That small market ball club.
Yeah.
People take our personnel becomes free agents, and
Yeah.
people cherry pick them, and
Right.
they're good talents.
Absolutely.
We lost a lot of good people, but finally, the first time since I've been in office, we're fully staffed at planning and development. Tourism has a whole new board as of January 2019. Just got a new director last week. I was at their meeting this morning talking about a lot of exciting things there.
Yeah.
Super excited about that. So things we've been talking about for 3 years as a board and in admin meetings are finally coming to fruition.
Yeah, and I'm very excited. I don't know if anyone else has met Darren at Planning and Development, but I've been very impressed with the hires that you guys have made there, and I'm very excited about the team that's up there. I think they're going to do good things for the county.
And two, I think we just didn't want to put anybody into some
Right.
of these
Get
positions.
the right person.
You got to find the right talent, the right person, and you want them to stay here for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been slowing down the process as well. So, but we got a good team in place right now. If I had a magic wand and I had $1 million, I'd definitely dump a lot into IDC IDA's team down there. You have 3 full-timers and a full-time clerical personnel down there, really driving economic development and the industrial park. And when I evaluate other counties, they have lobbyists.
Right.
Well, we can't afford a lobbyist. So a lot of times we're at a disadvantage. And we got to play on our strengths, and I think we do that for the most part. And
well, that kind of leads right into the next question. I've been kind of harping on 4 major issues, and I'm planning on talking about them for the next several years in the videos that I do. 4 big problems for Kittanning, and I think we can extrapolate them to the county as well. The first one, like you talked about, is increasing the availability of jobs. What are you guys doing now, and what do you plan to do over the next 4 years to attract new businesses, to fill up the areas like North Point, all those different kinds of things?
Right. I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel. As you talk about downtown Kittanning, downtown Ford City, I think our greatest strength right now is as I talk about Kittanning first, is their council. Yeah. That's change. It's a positive change.
Totally agree.
I think they're I think they're very eager. They have a new borough manager. In Ford City, you ought to applaud the work that they have done over the last couple of years. They finished their comp plan. I read the other day. So they have a lot of big aspirations down there, which is great. And I think when I say not reinventing the wheel, I think we're getting right people into the elected positions right now.
Yep.
And the county's here to help. As you mentioned, we have a fully staffed planning and community and planning department. They're willing to help those municipalities, those community leaders. I wish more people would call me. I spend a great deal of time November through March, when it's not baseball season, in the evening visiting municipalities throughout the county, trying to hear their concerns, their needs. But when not reinventing the wheel, I think they've done an amazing job in Flag. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Freeport, Leechburg, and Apollo Group.
Yep.
They're not as active now, but they got those 3 communities. Their storefronts are full down there.
Yeah.
You can't argue that. That group did a lot of work. So maybe just rip a page or 2 out of their playbook.
Yeah.
How did you guys get there?
Right.
Couple of things the county continues to do, continue to support and finish the revitalization project that we didn't start but kept that going. Facade grants, advocating for that. We didn't get it 2 years ago, so when Secretary Davin came into town, I whispered in his ear, really like to finish Kittanning off here with and that facade grant would really help. But
meeting tonight on it, actually.
Are you?
No, it's up at
right? Yes.
So that's moving forward. Very excited about that.
Yeah, it is. So it's all good stuff, but we're here to support those municipalities, townships, and boroughs that need it from a planning and development standpoint. We do that now,
right?
And we do it to a great deal. And I mean, we kick out a lot of money. One thing we've done that the board didn't like when we got in here was we seen maybe 15 grand going here, 20 grand going here, 15 here to all these communities. Well, we had an opportunity over the last several years to prioritize impact projects. So we take that money that we were just handing out everywhere, and then we leverage it for multimodal funds.
Right.
So now that instead of handing out $100,000 or $125,000 to 15 communities, we're looking at impact projects that are going to make a huge difference in a community and move on to the next one. But we leverage those dollars to get $1 million each of the last 2 years. So just being wiser with our money, strategizing.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
And continue to do that.
So I guess something that maybe you'd have some insight into that could maybe, it would help me and maybe help them too. We talked about the $30 million data center that went in a couple years ago. What does that process look like from a commissioner perspective? How hands-on are you guys with that? How do we attract more things like that to come into the county?
It's truly a team effort. Senator Don White was heavily involved with that. Representative Powell was involved with that. Who does the majority of the heavy lifting is IDC, IDA, and their board members, which would be Mike Coonley, Tyson Kluken, and Justin Noller down there, putting all that in. Legwork, planning, and development are involved in that, and the commissioners are involved. I don't want to say we're actively involved, but we're involved.
Sure. So the company then approaches you about them, or do you guys actually go out and try to seek the company?
No, we're actively seeking that. Marketing is a big part of what we're doing in these industrial parks and beyond that. In communities that have vacant property, whether you're talking about the Brownfield in Ford City or the seasonal plant in Roll Valley, or down in Leechburg, the Brackenridge Elegate Ludlam building.
Yeah.
So, we're always marketing those vacant properties for reuse. This is kind of Involta happened or came about because we have such good infrastructure there. Data centers don't want to be in major grids in downtown. There's a lot of security reasons. BY Mellons at North Point, that all their stuff comes from New York City. They prefer to. There's not a lot going on out here. They prefer the rural industrial park, and we have great infrastructure there. Fiber is a big key of what brought those two facilities there.
Very cool. So the second big issue that we've been talking about is the opioid epidemic. Very high on everybody's list as far as conversation goes. And the county was number 2, I think, 4 years ago. I think the last one that I saw, we were number 4 in the state as far as opioid overdose deaths per capita. And so just wanted to talk to you about that. What do you guys do as county commissioner to help kind of solve that problem?
I think we've been overly active in that realm. That was a big part of running a campaign last time.
Right.
And, I'm fortunate enough that I have a big background in mental health and substance abuse issue, because I was a family therapist and a outpatient therapist at a local mental health provider. But we've done amazing things over the last 4 years. Yes, we were number 2 per capita in the Commonwealth. I think Clarion, Armstrong, and Indiana are the only 3 counties that see a decrease.
Right.
Since I've been in office, our overdose went down by 48%, and it's because of the good work that Cammie Anderson, the executive director at the Drug and Alcohol Commission, does, and her team. They're amazing. I have the distinct pleasure of sitting on the advisory board, so I get to see them work. I get to chime in discussion. But we've piloted some very unique programs here. We were one of the first counties in the Commonwealth to start Vivitrol shots. So instead of, as people were leaving the jail, going from the jail to their outpatient appointment, they get this shot. It stays in their system to decrease that craving for heroin, cocaine, or basically heroin. And that allows them to get to their next appointment.
Sure.
That follow-up appointment, more so than having to take that pill or sell their pill.
Right.
So it hasn't been as successful as we want, but we know by the data, 99% of the people that take that shot, as far as we've can track them, have been successful.
That's great.
The other thing that started, piloted too, the Governor Wolf was here a year ago, ARMOT, Addictive Recovery Certified Specialist in the ER. So I believe the numbers are about over 700 people who have come into the ER for overdose. 72% of them have gone on to get treatment.
Okay.
So we're hitting them at the ER. We're hitting them coming out of the jail. Plus, we're doing a lot of programming in the jail that was not there when this administration came on board.
Right.
We brought in with an RFP provider to provide drug and alcohol services within the jail. Also, they're established on Water Street, so a lot of times they go from the jail setting to that outpatient appointment. They built that connection.
Okay.
Same with our mental health provider. We have family counseling as our mental health provider in the jail. They build a relationship. They have an opportunity, if they choose, all this is choice,
Right.
To go from the jail where they're getting treatment to family counseling store.
Right.
And that's, Mark Manor does a wonderful job. So we're doing a lot of good things. When I first got on there, I always raise my hand as a new guy. I'm like, I see a lot of reinvestment dollars going to Indiana. I don't see anything coming back to Armstrong County for drug and alcohol. Well, and it's been discussed here, especially in Kittanning most recently, about the recovery center.
Yeah.
Those are reinvestment dollars. Now, I understand both sides of the issue. I kind of stay out of that. I just know what the needs are.
You're talking about the one in the church in Wick City?
Yes.
Okay.
I know what the needs are, and I understand that, and I understand both sides of the issue. But
Right.
my job is to bring the dollars back here. The dollars are here. Where are we going to put the place? Because there is a need. No different in Ford City. The detox facility was looking to come into the old Golden Heritage, but got the reinvestment dollars. Now, we know what the needs are.
Right.
We could fix blight. That was a good example of fixing blight,
Yeah.
creating jobs, providing a service
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Right.
And I understand why it didn't happen. So at times that can be frustrating as a county commissioner because
sure.
you see this stuff every day, whether I'm at the jail setting or whether I'm at a mental health meeting or a drug and alcohol meeting. The needs are out there. So
Right.
we're creating opportunities to do that. But all in all, I think we've done a good job. Later this year, we went after a grant to create a law liaison enforcement. So I'm a big believer in treatment versus incarceration.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of times this would occur on the magistrate's level. So and it's not for everybody, but if the DA would agree and the magistrate would agree, we can divert these people not into our county jail where it costs us money to feed them, house them, process them, but we can send them into treatment.
Yeah.
That's not on county dollars. That's not county general fund dollars. So do I think bad guys need to go to jail? Absolutely. People that have mental health issues, substance abuse issues, do they need to be in the clink, so to speak? I'd like to try treatment first,
Sure.
And keep that off the, keep the cost down at the county jail, which is a huge cost.
Oh yeah. Well, I think everyone has an opinion on it until it hits close to home and they have a family member or a close friend, and then all of a sudden the conversation becomes different. That treatment first does seem like a really great option.
And there's a ripple effect. You might jam a person up, male, female, it doesn't matter, grandpa, parent, but then now they're missing work,
right?
Potentially. Now the grandmother or grandfather's got to take care of that kid, or maybe they go into the foster system, or maybe they go into a placement. There's a huge ripple effect. That all costs us money on a county level. So it's just doing business a little bit smarter, solution focused, curb recidivism. So those are just some ideas we're going to maybe test out lightly and hopefully get some buy-in from our court systems, our district attorney and our local magistrates. And
well, I remember when Governor Wolf came here last year, and I just commend you guys on the positive direction that it's going. I know the fight's not over yet, but you're talking about a lot of things that I didn't even know were available. So good work.
Yeah, it's going very well, and I'm proud that the numbers are coming down. So.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
A couple other things you wouldn't know about is, we have an overdose task force here in the county. They meet monthly. So, those meetings are occurring with EMTs, law enforcement, educators, providers. So those conversations are happening every month.
That's awesome. Okay. So that was issue number 2. The third one, which I know you guys have done some work on as well, is blight. Blight is a huge problem in Kittanning, Ford City, and certainly just about every community around. what have you guys done so far with the blight issue, and what do you plan to continue to do to help solve that problem in our communities?
Oh, I credit Leechburg Borough residents for bringing it to, not that it wasn't not our attention, but they really, at a town hall meeting that we held, and we try to hold town hall meetings each year that we've been in office. We'll be starting those up again here later this spring, but we get a lot of good feedback from that, and one of them was blighted properties. Leechburg had no place to grow.
Yeah.
So if they can take down some blighted properties and put them back on the tax rolls, that benefits them.
Absolutely.
So, through conversations with Senator White, our administration and Senator White's staff and him, and we were able to get some startup money for $100,000, get a consultant in here that I would deem an expert. And first thing we did was laid out some ordinances that each municipality throughout the whole county could take and carve out what they want or what they don't want, but cater to themselves.
Right.
And you police yourselves. Not everybody has law enforcement,
right.
but you do have supervisors that have enforcement powers.
Right.
So you start there. The other thing we did, then we started surveying. We sent out surveys to all the municipalities. It was mind-numbing how many blighted properties are in the county when you start getting these surveys back.
Yeah.
We don't have enough money to take them all down, but I think what the plan is moving forward is take down as funds become available.
Sure.
We've set up a system where we have funds going into a pool of money, and those dollars will be used to take down blighted properties that we would select with the planning department that are high value blighted properties. What I mean by that is, hey, let's take them down, and then we could probably develop something out of them
Sure.
right away. Put them back on the tax rolls right away. So that's kind of how that's rolling out, and we're vetting through the land bank right now. So Apollo School District, Apollo Borough, the commissioners have all agreed to do that in that area. Kiski School District, because they do have municipalities in Armstrong County, is considering it now. And Armstrong is they want to see how things work out elsewhere. So.
Okay. Well, that's all good stuff. I know you've had the first few already. I know Leechburg had several torn down, right? And then we had the
first... and I love putting on a hard hat.
Yeah. And the first one over here, right by my building, just not even a block away from here. I featured it in many videos because I thought it was just the ugliest house in Kittanning. So now I'm just going to start featuring another one until you tear it down. So.
No, do it. Well, but you're right, though. Drawing attention to those kind of things. I remember a few years ago when somebody painted on Market Street.
Right.
And it was posted, and it got contagious down here.
Right. All of a sudden, 5-6 buildings started getting painted.
So...
Well, I think when you tear down a blighted property, it makes so much difference for the neighbor or the business next door because they don't want to improve their place because they got this dump right next to it. And so why would I invest when this is sitting next to me? And so
Absolutely.
The more we can take care of that stuff, I think it sets off a chain reaction of investment. And I just...
And even my time as a supervisor, I dealt a lot with blighted property and violations. And every circumstance truly is different. Somebody got sick. Somebody moved away for a while to take care of a family. There's issues, but there's ways to work through it.
Right.
One thing that I think I greatly benefited from looking back is I had some really good mentors in my life. But I went to graduate school at IUP and got a master's degree in community counseling, and I think that training has helped me, work through situations that aren't always ideal or could be frustrating.
Sure.
To come to a solution or a positive outcome.
Yeah, good stuff. So that's the fourth issue that we talked about. I know you've talked about it a little bit already. Is working with local communities. I know it's becoming more and more difficult to run a city just because of the regulation, all the different things that they have to deal with. And every single city council person, I think, in Kittanning at least, is part-time. How do we work with city councils from a county perspective, from a state perspective, to help them do their jobs more effectively and to help them, get everything that's available to them?
It's different everywhere. When I was a supervisor, again, I was hands-on. I was there 10, 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't have a cleaning person for the longest period. Guess who cleaned the building?
Yeah.
It was me. Those people were few and far between, but it's that kind of effort that gets maybe an industrial park done, a good operating budget that leads to a surplus. It really takes that kind of elected official to get to the next step. Now, that's not, they just set the rules and govern too.
Right.
But you know, if you're a taxpayer, that's what you're looking for as candidates are out there asking for your support.
Yeah.
You know, are you going to be a dedicated full-time official, or are you going to be at that municipality office? That being said, one thing that we could do, and one of my frustrations as a township supervisor, and I told Jason and George this when I got into office, was like I felt disconnected from the county in a lot of ways as a Manor Township supervisor. So one thing we did was town hall meetings. We started going out to municipalities as well through the winter months as much as we could. Started having our staffers go out and meet with municipalities. And then one thing that we're kicking around right now, and I think it's going to be important, and we just talked about this morning, was have regional meetings with elected officials. So we might be in the north, the south, the east, or the west, but we're only meeting with elected officials in those municipalities, townships, or boroughs that with our economic planning team, our economic and development, and community and planning departments, and the commissioners. What are your needs? Where can we help you with? It still surprised me. We have quite a bit of dollars in the dirt and gravel fund that they get, but a lot of municipalities don't know about that yet.
Okay.
So, you know, it's just not knowing, not being able to reach out to us. And it works both ways. They got to be able to pick up the phone and reach out to us, send us an email, or vice versa. Now, we've tried this through YouTube videos in the past for a couple years. We've had town hall meetings at the schools. We have had town hall meetings at the fire halls. We're actually this spring we're going to moving into the senior centers. You know, the turnouts haven't been that great either.
Sure.
So I'm not sure what that all means.
Yeah.
But we're accessible. You know, reach out to us as well if you're not hearing from us.
So if the local cities just communicate the problems to you, then you guys are happy to try to work on a solution.
And we do that. You know, we have a lot of block grant communities that our planning development department. Carmen Johnson's actually, you would think she's a Kittanning employee.
Yeah.
How much time she spends in Kittanning. But I was happy to see you guys get a borough manager here in Kittanning, because what that means is hopefully they can handle some of the stuff that Carmen's already doing.
Right.
And that time can be spent in another community.
Yep.
Is positive. They might not want to hear that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, Kiski just got a manager. Manor Township has a full-time secretary. Those communities or municipalities have investments. You see them get a little more dollars because they're investing in that position.
Yeah, the world we live in is so grant money oriented that you almost need a full-time person to be monitoring that process through the entire thing. But you hit one big grant and it can pay that person's salary for 10 years.
Absolutely.
And so I think from a Downtown Kittanning Incorporated, I mean, we were sending letters all the time to the city, just really pushing for the borough manager, because we believe that's a huge part of the process.
I think it's a wise investment.
Yeah.
And if you can afford it, and that's always the key, can we afford it?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So and this issue comes up a lot. That's the 4 big ones for me. This one I just always like to talk about because it always comes up in every conversation I have is taxes. Everyone says taxes are too expensive in Armstrong County. Why would anyone invest here, build a house here, those kinds of things. What's your view on the tax issue? You've been obviously very close to it over the last few years. What are your thoughts on it?
I was at a regional meeting last week. I serve as a vice president for the Northwest Commissioners Association, and the topic that evening was reassessment. And I raised my hand, and Commissioner Boozle for Butler County was sitting beside me. We're very good friends, and I'm like, can we sue them? Because I want them to reassess over there, because they haven't been reassessed since 1968. Why that's so important for us is, jokingly, is because you would think that their taxes would be elevated,
right?
And maybe naturally that would mean more people back into Armstrong County.
Sure.
Is a theory behind that. But one thing I always tell people with confidence, and I don't think people realize, but when you look on a pie plate, 70% of your taxes out there, your taxes, my taxes, go to the Armstrong School District.
Right. Yep.
The county is only 20% of that, and your local municipality, wherever you reside, is 10%.
Right.
County taxes aren't that bad.
Right.
And we provide a tremendous service for that 20% without question.
Right.
So what can you do about that?
Yeah.
Obviously, the easy question, you got to build a tax base.
Yep.
Whether we're doing that through alertas, KOZs, better marketing efforts, and trust me, we beat down a lot of doors. We do. We chase that down all the time. So, and a big part of that is what I talked about earlier: business retention, keeping what you do have. You got to be attentive to the people that are already here too, because if you start losing them and you're not attracting anybody, we're in for a world of hurt. So, this whole thing's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
It all goes together. It's all important.
Yeah.
You got to pay attention to all of it. So yeah, taxes are higher than I want them to be, but that's our only source of revenue.
Right.
Would a sales tax be good? Maybe. I've suggested to people that, hey, if you own this much property, or this much property on a tier system, we're at 500, 1,000, and 1,500. That's a cap you pay.
Yeah.
Then everything else is a sales tax.
Yeah.
Would that figure be enough to run this entire county? I don't know that answer. I was starting to look into this.
Sure.
But is sales tax an answer? Is House Bill 76, which I do not think, disagree with some of the people running for commissioners, not the answer. It needs reworked. There's a few things in there, I've read it a dozen times, that it does not benefit the Armstrong School District right now as it sits. So I would not be in favor of that. But it doesn't mean you throw that legislation away. You tweak it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was waiting for someone to explain the school district versus the county versus the city and how much of your taxes go there. So I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to know that very small piece of the pie actually ends up going to the county. And even less to your city. So when you complain about taxes in Kittanning Borough, the complaint probably shouldn't be directed at city council or even the courthouse. The complaint might need to go somewhere else. So.
Well, again, they're a big operation.
Absolutely.
They're $99 million last time I looked.
Right.
We're $23 million.
Right.
They get the biggest piece of that pie. So, and I don't know where this started. Commissioner Renshaw and Scott and I talk about this all the time. Like, why are we the fall guys for these high taxes?
Right.
We're tasked with the responsibility, and we take it very seriously, of bringing, driving economic development, making sure what we have stays here, pushing out a comprehensive plan. And we take that seriously. We live it, breathe it every day. It's not that easy of a job.
Yeah.
And we're not the only county, and that's a pleasure for my perch that I get to see, because I talk to commissioners. I talk to other counties through our state association. It's just not everybody's struggling with this, whether it's workforce, high taxes, the state mandates.
Right.
A lot of this stuff flows uphill in a lot of ways. And I will say that Donna Oberlander from the 60th District she's been great. She's moving up in leadership. That's good for our area. Mm-hmm. We're obviously going to get a new candidate for the 41st. I speak volumes about what Dawn White's done from the area.
Absolutely.
I will tell you this, every time our office has picked up the phone, either Joe Pittman or Senator White picked up the phone. I'm very appreciative of that. G.T. Thompson, met again with him last night. He's been in Armstrong County or Kittanning each of his first 3 months here.
Yeah.
Him personally, and you don't get that often.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I didn't see Mike Kelly my first 3 years here at all.
Right.
When he was covering us. So I appreciate that, and I tell the congressman all the time that we appreciate that. He cares about this county, and that means a lot to me. So, and then Joe Petrarch at the southern end of the county's very active, picks up the phone, and Jim Struzzi in Indiana County, because we have a lot of joiners. I don't think people understand that, like
right.
mental health, drug, and alcohol. We have a lot of joiner agreements, so we do work with our colleagues from Indiana County as well. So it is important to talk to those state reps as they impact substance abuse issues, mental health issues. So, and I know we're wrapping up here, but the one thing I want to make sure I mention is what this administration has done. And one question I always get, I want to make sure your viewers understand, is, hey, what'd you do with the health center money?
Well, right, yeah.
That's sitting in a savings account right now.
Okay.
We did use a little bit of it to cover some of the we needed to dip into that operating reserve to cover the unbalanced budget this year.
Okay.
But it's sitting in a savings account, and that was probably the toughest decision I had to make here in county government since I've been here. But it's working out pretty well. But I wanted to make sure I got that out there. We've spent a lot of time getting rid of a lot of inventory in county government that's costed us a lot of money. Puts properties back on tax rolls. Speaking of creating a tax base, working with Darren Stalissa and AC Properties, that increased. We control what we can control, and what I mean by that is, by moving our entities back in town, we didn't have $5 million to fix up the Armsdale building, but what we did do is create the tax base, a better tax base here by working with them. Also, you have more employees here to visit downtown Kittanning. You have a better synergy with services down here. It's on a transportation route. And it's the same thing with the health center. Kittanning benefited in the sense that it puts that building back on the tax rolls there. So we spent a lot of time with vendors and contracts and what properties we do have to kind of cut our costs, and it's been successful. It's 3 years, no taxes, and that's not going to be forever, I can tell you that. Costs go up every year in government. Employee costs, I'll say, because our contracts, we've been holding the line on that. See Commissioner Renshaw negotiate. It's tough. It's intimidating.
Well, I know you talked a little bit about comprehensive plan and all that kind of stuff. I'm a stickler for vision. So if you'd be reelected come November and you had another 4 years, 8 years, whatever that looks like for you, what would Armstrong County look like if Commissioner Fabian would get everything that he wants?
I think first and foremost, we have a plan, and you'll start to see this since you have a business down here. We got to take care of our infrastructure, the courthouse, the annex building, the parking lots. There's a lot of infrastructure needs up there that we just need to take care of. That's going to be taken care of this year, the next year and a half. Infrastructure needs at the Belmont will be taken care of. And I don't think people understand that. I want to take 2 minutes to explain that. Often I'm like, well, why don't you sell the Belmont? It's easier said than done. Because so much grant money has gone in there over the years, you have to pay that grant money back. So the property assessed for maybe, I think last time I looked, it was about $700,000. People will pay that to run an ice rink. The problem is when you put on the $4 million in grant funds that need paid back, people get discouraged and don't. So we've walked down that road. So there's some infrastructure needs there that we'll take care of. The trail system, the Erie to Pittsburgh trail system is coming. There are some vacancies or some gaps in the trail systems. I think Chris Ziegler from the Allegheny Land Trust has done an amazing job. She's fixing up tunnels right now. She's filling in these gaps. But we got to be prepared, because when this project's complete, I believe, when I looked at the map, Kittanning is the last stop before Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
And I think we're going to see an upscale there. Keep fighting the fight with the river. And I don't want it's not a fight. We got to get along. We got to find solutions. But the federal government, keep pressing on their buttons, because, it's going to be dire if we don't get something figured out with the mussels, the flooding, the lack of industry, commerce, recreational traffic. That is a huge issue. So keep pushing on with that. And also this, keep marketing the county. Do a better job. We do. And you know what? When it sounds easier said than done
Right.
when you're being pulled in all these different directions. I have on my door hanger, which I'll be around, and I already have been door knocking, but all the committees and responsibilities I have, it's hard to focus on some of these. We do awful lot of delegating, but it's a big undertaking. So we'll get back to marketing more. Well, we should be marketing more aggressive.
Yeah.
Tourism specifically, to me, that's easy dollars to pull in from other counties or take away.
Absolutely.
Capitalize on that, and then just keep doing what we've been doing in economic development. And God forbid we get a big windfall. I think we'd all love to invest in that area.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but it's just not the commissioners. We're a big team up there. It's a team that's going to take and get this done. We all need to be fiscally responsible. Every elected official, every department head. They're not our dollars.
Right.
We're the stewards of them.
Yeah.
And we want to do a good job with them.
Well, that's been insightful for me today. Is how many times you've deflected the credit of a lot of the good things to the different department heads, and getting the right people in place. I think that's an underrated part of the commissioner job, because a lot of people think, well, I'm going to vote the right person in and they're just going to change everything. Well, it's too big for one person to do it. And so it's you guys really, really being good managers and good stewards. And so,
it's an organization.
Yeah.
And maybe Pittsburgh Steelers aren't a very good example right now. But maybe Kraft's not a very good example in New England right now. But it's an organization, and it starts from the top leadership, but also you need good people, and we have good people up there. We have a lot of good people that care about the county, and one thing, I think a lot of great things have happened over the last 3 years, and I could talk about an abundance of things that have changed, but there's a lot more to do.
Yeah.
And I think people are looking for that big shiny thing. That what have you guys done? When you really deep dive into this thing, we've accomplished an awful lot in 3 years and 4 months.
Right.
And there's a lot more to do. So as we wrap up, I would just ask your viewers to consider supporting me. Hopefully, you think I've done a good job. One promise I will make is, I'm not going to make promises, but I promise to show up and work hard every day.
Absolutely.
I'm dedicated, and that's what you'll get from me: a good work ethic, dedication, and put the county first. And hopefully, you'll see this change.
Yeah.
I already have, which is exciting for me.
Right. So how can people get in contact with you? How can they support your campaign?
Well, I have a big fundraiser coming up. It's Comedy Night at Fort Cliff Volunteer Fire Department. It's on May 4th. We have 3 comedians lined up. Starts at 8 o'clock at night.
Very cool.
The doors open at 6:30. The fire hall gets all the bar money. So you'll be supporting the fire department as well as the campaign. Tickets are only $10. We're not looking to make money on this. We want to get people in the room. We want people to laugh. I love to laugh. I love comedy.
Yeah.
It's a good time. So if you're not doing anything, come out. You can reach me at the county commissioner's office anytime. My email's on the website as well. That's really it.
Very good. Well, I really appreciate you coming. I'll put all the links and in the description of this video for how you can contact Commissioner Fabian. And I just really appreciate you coming. It's been a real pleasure. It's been very insightful for me, and hopefully it was for you guys too. And as always, see you in the next one.